a Dear Media original podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Now that it's summer, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for your sunny, active days, and Factor is a great option. It has flavorful and nutritious, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. I've tried these meals. They're good, and it is very, very nice to have them on deck, especially during those weeks when you know you're going to be really busy. They offer delicious, flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles, whether that's keto or calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus. They are prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians. Each meal has all the ingredients that you'll need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. And let's be honest, it is expensive to do takeout all the time. If you want to budget this month, Factor is a great option. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in just 2 minutes. Plus, with Factor, you can rest assured you're making a really sustainable choice, and I love that. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in their meals. Head to factormeals.com/good50 and use the code good50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code good50 at factormeals.com/good50 to get 50% off your first box. Hi, welcome to Good Instincts. I'm Shira Barlow, but you may know me as the food therapist. Join me every Monday through Friday for bite-sized episodes designed to help you close the gap between where you are right now and where you want to go. This should feel good, like really good. And it will, I promise. Okay, when it comes to the blood sugar of it all, I kind of made the mistake of feeling like people knew exactly what to do. We understood what it was, and we were maybe a little bit overhearing about it. But more recently, I just hear people really, really, really wanting the basics. And so I wanted to kind of do a refresher course on blood sugar. So the way it works on a really basic level is that blood sugar goes up when we eat sugar, but also things that are broken down into sugar, like pasta and bread and fruit. When blood sugar goes up, it signals that we need to release insulin. And then insulin comes into our cells, and then that drops down our blood sugar. And then if we have a lot of sugar all at once, what happens is we have a huge surge in blood sugar, and we have a real need for a lot of insulin. And when a lot of insulin comes in, it's then dropping blood sugar quite low. And that's when we can kind of have a crash. That's when cortisol can surge, which is the stress hormone. And that's what we're kind of talking about in terms of how controlling blood sugar can affect all our hormones altogether. And then there are some conditions like PCOS and type 2 diabetes where our cells become less sensitive to insulin. So even though our body is producing enough insulin, the cells aren't actually receptive to it. So what's happening is that the sugar is staying and accumulating in the blood. And that in turn can lead to a lot of inflammation. It can lead to more disease and more conditions and stuff like that. I will say I do not want this conversation to be scary. This isn't to say that we can't have any sugar and we shouldn't eat bread and we shouldn't eat pasta or any sugar at all. It's just to say that keeping in mind the blood sugar curves and wanting more or less to have them be a slow, gentle wave rather than huge curves and valleys is what we're looking for. So I've talked a ton about this because when I did my residency at Mount Sinai in New York, I wound up teaching a lot of people who were newly diagnosed diabetics how to eat for insulin. And the way I broke it down was in terms of 15 gram servings of carbs. Not to say that you can only have 15 grams of carbs a day, but in terms of this is what 15 grams of carbs looks like. So it's more or less like a slice of bread or half a sweet potato or an apple. It's also a third a cup of rice or half a cup of beans. And so I taught them that in terms of food so that they could decide what was worth it to them and how it was fitting into their day so that they could then know how much insulin they had to give themselves. But when I did that over time, I realized that everyone would benefit from thinking about carbohydrates this way and our blood sugar this way. Not because we shouldn't be eating any carbs, but because it really helps us visualize what's making our blood sugar go up and what's worth it to us and what's not. I think that's so, so, so important. And with that, then we have the conversation of fiber and fat and protein. Because when we eat carbohydrates or sugar, if we're pairing that with something that has fiber or protein or fat, it mediates that blood sugar curve. And we had the glucose goddess on here, and she was talking about dress your carbs with clothes. And that's what she was talking about. When you're eating those things together, it helps mediate that curve. So for instance, rather than eating just an apple or just blueberries, you could have it with peanut butter, or mixing cauliflower rice in with regular rice, or adding vegetables to your pasta. Anytime you're adding that fiber or that protein in with it, it's going to help that surge. And just to go back to the semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy conversation, what happens with those medications is that it makes your cells so much more sensitive to insulin, which is incredibly helpful if you have type 2 diabetes and one of these conditions where your cells are desensitized. But I think when people are using it just for weight loss, there is still that question in my mind, and we talked all about that, whether these were oversensitizing potentially our cells and making it so that it was affecting other cascades of hormones, which is why if you are interested in one of those products, the berberine was what I recommended because it is natural and it is much less intense and is metabolized by the body. So it doesn't stay in your body day after day. There's also a whole other discussion about vinegar. Glucose Goddess is very, very into this. She talks about having vinegar in some way, whether it's like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar or even with like pickles or with vinegar in salads, how that helps mediate the blood sugar curve also. And I'm a believer in that, and there is a good amount of science to it. And then, of course, there is the additional conversation of just looking at the ingredients and seeing where sugar's popping up and seeing where maybe it doesn't need to be. Don't be afraid to ask in restaurants what's in marinades and salad dressings and stuff like that. You may find that all of that stuff is worth it to you, especially when you're dining out, and that's great. But I think it's so helpful to know where it's coming in so you can decide what's worth it to you and what's not. And the thing I love about this conversation, I talk about it with my clients all the time, is that it really isn't one size fits all. Everyone gets to decide for themselves. We're all grown-ups and nothing is off limits, but also everything does count. So I think in a lot of cases, you wind up feeling like some things are more worth it than others. And I think this really helps you do that. Also, some people need a lot more carbs than others, depending on what your goals are or your activity level is. All of that factors in. But I do think the conversation is helpful. I'm so curious to know what you guys think. Do you want more? Do you guys want to talk blood sugar even more? You want to do a deeper dive? Let me know. Come find me on Instagram at Shira_RD. Tomorrow is a shit I'm loving. I will see you there. Thank you so much for listening to Good Instincts, hosted and written by me, Shira Barlow. You can find me on Instagram at Shira_RD. Good Instincts is a Dear Media daily. This episode is brought to you by Factor. Now that it's summer, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for your sunny, active days, and Factor is a great option. It has flavorful and nutritious, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. I've tried these meals. They're good, and it is very, very nice to have them on deck, especially during those weeks when you know you're going to be really busy. They offer delicious, flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles, whether that's keto or calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus. They are prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians. Each meal has all the ingredients that you'll need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. And let's be honest, it is expensive to do takeout all the time. If you want to budget this month, Factor is a great option. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in just 2 minutes. Plus, with Factor, you can rest assured you're making a really sustainable choice, and I love that. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in their meals. Head to factormeals.com/good50 and use the code good50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code GOOD50 at factormeals.com/good50 to get 50% off your first box.